Hello, welcome, welcome. Happy November 1st. For those of you who are in the United States, where I am, November is the month where we celebrate Thanksgiving. For those who are not familiar, later on in the month, we get together on Thanksgiving with family and friends, cook a magnificent feast, and eat way too much food. Well, that's usually what we do. But the whole point is to be in the spirit of gratitude for all the things that bring us together, to kind of stop the world and be grateful. So I figured what better way to kick off November than a 30 days of gratitude. So for today, I wanted to share 3 important things to remember in any gratitude practice. By the way, gratitude practice is one of the many tools that I use with my clients to help them kind of get out of the anxiety and stress of what they're dealing with and kind of get present and in their body by being grateful for the things around them. So the first thing about a gratitude practice that most people actually get wrong is to make it small and specific. So let me give you an example. And I actually make this mistake all the time, so I have to then focus on doing it right. Many of us say things like, I'm grateful for my family, or even I'm grateful that we live in this beautiful home, or, I'm grateful to have been born in the US, or something that's very big and meta. And while it's true and amazing to be grateful for, the better thing is to be as specific and as small as possible. So I'll give you another example. So instead of me saying, I'm grateful for my 3 amazing children, which is true, what is better to pull me into the moment is, I'm grateful that I was able to have a fun trick-or-treating evening with my kids last night. So my 9-year-old son was dressed up as Spider-Man. We got to go out in the rain and go house to house and go trick-or-treating. And he remembered his manners. He said, thank you and happy Halloween to every house that we stopped at. And my older kids were off handing out candy and doing, other things. This was the first year they didn't trick or treat. But so I'm super proud of my kids. Right? It's very specific. It's a point in time, and it helps me remember a very specific memory. The second thing to remember in a gratitude practice is just to keep it consistent. Even though Thanksgiving only comes once a year, hopefully you are grateful and thankful more than just once a year. And one of the things I prescribe with my clients is come up with a gratitude practice every single day. Whether it's first thing in the morning or last thing at night, write down 3 things that you're grateful for. Again, keep them small and specific, but make it a regular practice. When I first began doing this, I needed to set a reminder on my phone, like an alarm. What are you grateful for? It's a great way to remind yourself. But the reason for keeping it consistent is the purpose is not just to be grateful and to write down a list at the end of the day, but it's to start noticing things throughout your day that you can be grateful for, that you can put on that list. And by doing so, you actually become grateful in the moment, right? So if you're already thinking ahead, ooh, I know I have 3 things to be grateful for this evening, you might find yourself in the grocery store, in the checkout line, having a conversation with a stranger and thinking, ooh, I'm really grateful that I was able to connect with a stranger today. I'm going to put that on my list. So it really puts you in the moment of being grateful real time. And then the third thing is to be grateful. You can be grateful for overcoming difficult things, but be cautious not to be using toxic positivity. Let me explain what I mean. So I've always had this superpower. People have told me, I've gotten it in my performance reviews. Friends have told me this, that I can always find the silver lining of any bad thing that happens. And in part, it's actually a trauma response. Right? If any bad thing that happens to you makes you completely crumble, you're not going to be very resilient. So finding the silver lining or finding the gratitude or positive thing in a negative thing is a power of resiliency. However, it doesn't mean you have to downplay the bad thing that happened to you. So let me use an example. Many, many years ago, I had a very bad experience at work, one that ended up with me being fired. Horrible, right? Horrible experience. It was a long, long time ago. And, it led to some major changes that were happening in my life. However, looking back, it was the beginning of some really great things because the next job that I got was a much better fit for what I wanted, and it paid me 50% more. 50%, that's huge. So looking back, I can say I am really grateful I got fired from that job because it wasn't great. I didn't love it, and it ended up leading to something that was way, way better. Now, that doesn't downplay the fact that when I was going through that experience, it was really hard, right? It was really hard. And I needed to take the time to kind of grieve and have that process go through. And then I was able to experience the gratitude for what came next. But if you jump too quickly to the gratitude and you don't actually allow yourself the feelings of the terrible thing that you're going through, then you're actually robbing yourself of being able to process those emotions in a healthy way and then move on and be grateful. So, that's my tip. Don't jump too quickly to the silver lining. Acknowledge that it's a dark cloud and then find the silver lining to get your way through it. Many years ago, I had a friend tell me something really, really wise because I would often say, yeah, but at least I'm not starving, or at least I'm not homeless, or at least I'm not this. And I was comparing my experience to third world experiences or really horrible experiences that people were having real time in the world. And she said, you know what? You get to suffer your own things. You don't have to compare your suffering to others. And I thought, wow, that's actually really powerful, right? I am very grateful. I've had many blessings in my life. That doesn't mean I haven't suffered, right? And so same for you. You might feel really grateful that you have a good job, even though you hate it. You might feel really grateful that all your bills are paid, and that you have a job to go to, but you hate it and you're burning out. You might be really grateful that you have a loving family, even though you don't get to spend any time with them. And let me just tell you that it's okay to have your own flavor of suffering, and that doesn't make it any less. So anyway, I hope those 3 tips were helpful. I also wanted to share a very quick story about how a gratitude practice still sticks with me today. So about 10, 12 years ago, I was still working in distribution operations. And a colleague of mine who I did not work with on a regular basis sent me an email in November. And it said, I'm working on a gratitude practice. So every day I'm reaching out to people I'm grateful for. And I just wanted to let you know that I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for your leadership, for how you show up at work. You really give me, hope for our leadership team. This was not somebody I knew well. This was not somebody I reacted or interacted with on a daily basis. And I still remember it to this day. So I guess my suggestion is, if you have someone that you're grateful for, make sure that you are telling them, because they might remember 10 years later and it might have made their day and it might continue to make their day. So anyway, happy November. Let's find lots and lots of things to be grateful for.